The last theoretical topic in this section is ahead of us. It is the display property. It's worth learning a little more about this property by taking advantage of the fact that we already know its two variants, display inline and display block. But the display property can take also other values. You can see the basic four values of this property on this slide. Display block and display inline are already familiar to you. Display none causes that the given element is not displayed on the website. Such an element is in our HTML code. It is also in a document object model structure, but at the stage of rendering the website by the browser, it is excluded from the website view layer, as if it just wasn't there. It is not visible to the user in the browser. Display inline block is, as the name suggests, a combination of two values, inline and block. Thanks to this value, the elements on our website are arranged in one line next to each other, as in the case of the inline value, but we have full control over their size and the properties of their box model, as in the case of the block value. This comes in handy when creating a menu or a tab bar on our website, for example. This property has its drawbacks, which I will tell you about, but I think it's still worth knowing. Today it is not so popular anymore because there are newer methods of arranging and modifying elements on our website, which we will also talk about later in this course. Two basic HTML elements that have the display inline block property assigned to by default are the button and the input. As we can see on this slide, such elements are arranged next to each other in one line by default, but we have full control over modifying their appearance and size. The input is a field for entering the text used in forms, while the button is a clickable element, usually approving the changes, sometimes taking us to a different part of the website. And the elements that have the display none property assigned by default are already familiar to you. These are, among others, such elements as the head, style, or title. You have seen many times yourself that these elements are visible in our HTML code and in the document object model structure, but they are not rendered on our website and are not visible to the user in the browser. Let me show you this in an example. I have a simple project right here. It's a basic HTML structure. Now I will create a style tag in our head tag. Choose all the elements in our document with the asterisk symbol and set the display property to block. Let's see what's gonna happen. Let's save our file and voila. Now everything that you can see right here, I'm gonna zoom it a little bit. This part of the code is created by the live server extension, so it's not part of our document, so let's not pay attention to it. But what we can see right here are our title tag, which is usually not visible, which is usually only visible at the top of our website in the browsers tab. And we have our style tag right here. Now what's interesting, display block property doesn't show the tags itself. As we can see, we have meta tags right here, our HTML tag, etc., etc. We see only the content of the tags. And the only tags that have the content right now on our website are the title tag, which is this content right here, which we can see exactly right here, and our style tag, which is content is right here, which we can see exactly right here on our website. But what's interesting is that now you can see that the asterisk symbol in our CSS code literally means take all the elements on our website, including the HTML tag, the head tag, all the meta tags, etc., etc. So we have to be careful using the asterisk and setting the properties for it, because the effect might be unexpected for us. It's good to remember this. Asterisk means take every element in our document and set those properties inside to it. Now let's create, for example, a p tag in our body tag. Let's save our file. And you can see the difference, but it's only because here are visible the default margins set by the browser to the p tag, which we already know that they exist. We can see it in our DevTools right here. Let's expand the Elements tab, mark our p tag, and this orange area we can see are only the default margins of our p element, because the tag is not displayed by itself, because as I said, display property shows only the content of our tag, like this, and not the tags itself. Now you can clearly see those margins, margin top and margin bottom. Those are the default margins of the p tag, which we can better see when we copy a p tag and paste another one in our body, so that every paragraph is by default separated with those margins. Now let's refer in our style tag to our second p tag, like this, which we should already know the selector that it means take a p tag, which is a first younger brother of another p tag, and that exactly refers to our second p tag. And now let's set its display to none. Let's see what's gonna happen. Let's save our file. And you can see it literally disappeared. We can see it in our HTML code exactly right here. We can also see it in our DevTools. We have the first p tag and the second p tag. We can see that even if we mark it in our DevTools, we cannot see it on our website in the opposite of the first p tag. Now I'm highlighting the first one and we can see it on our website. Now I'm highlighting the second one, which has the display none property, and it's not even there. I wanted to show you this so you can keep in mind that the display none property doesn't mean that this element is not visible, like it was transparent or something. It's not getting rendered on our website at all. It's still in our HTML code, it's still in our document object model, but when the browser renders the website to the user, it simply skips this element. It's not being created in the website's view layer, as you may call it. I'm gonna show you this the other way. Let's delete this from here. Let's comment this row for now. And let's create a p tag in our body tag. Let's have some text in it. Paragraph 1. Once again, pressing Shift, Alt, and arrow down, we can clone those lines, make it paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. We can see that all our 3 p tags appeared on our website. Let's delete this row for now. Let's give the second p a class so it will be easier to refer to it. For example, second. Now let's refer to our second p tag. And let's set its display property to none. Like this. Let's save our file. And you can see that this element disappeared from our website and doesn't even take space on it. It's not transparent. It's not keeping its space without being visible. It's simply not there. We have only the first one and the third one. The second one wasn't even created for the user in the browser. It's only in our HTML code and in our document object model, and we can force it to appear once again with the display block property, like this. And then we have our second paragraph on our website back again. Now let's do something else. Let's go to the body tag. And now I would like to create a navigation, or as you may call it, a menu on our website. Let's create a nav tag, and inside we want to have a element times 4. And now we can open the curly brackets and we can place the text we want to have inside our A elements. Like, for example, element. And now if we place a $sign like this, we are going to have a numerical value. So since we have 4 elements, each of them will get a number counting from 1. And in addition to that, we can also set the href attribute for our A elements, for all of them at once. We want to have hash in our href attribute so that when clicking on our A tag, nothing will actually happen. We can do it by placing the square brackets after our A tag symbol and placing the href attribute with the hash symbol in the quotation marks. Then it's good to go to the end of the line so that the Emmet shortcut would recognize it properly. And by placing this kind of shortcut with one line, we can create the structure of our navigation. Let's hit enter and see if it works. And it worked perfectly fine. Let's save our element and we can see the effect in our browser. The fun fact is that the A element is an inline element by default. So you can see that even the code editor placed the A elements next to each other in one line. Let's try to place it differently for the visibility of the code. Not like this, but like this. Let's try to save our file. And we can see that we can save it like this, even with our Beautify extension, which formats our code. But by default, even in code editor, inline elements place themselves next to each other in one line. As we can see, even if we placed it one below other in our code editor, they are still placed in the same line in the browser. This is the simplest version of creating a menu on our website, or a navigation as it's supposed to be called, where we create a nav tag and inside we just place the A tags, which are the links, as we know. There are other ways to create a navigation on our website, which I will show you later in this course. But even this simple way of creating a nav is a good, especially for a start. Now let's go to our style tag and let's refer to all our A tags with the A selector. And let's try to set its width to 25%. Let's save our file. And we can see that nothing actually happened because the A tags are inline elements. And as we know, we can't set the width or the height of an inline element because it will always be auto. The other properties will work. For example, a font size. But to show you the font size, let's reset the zoom on our preview because I zoomed it a little bit. The original size is this. Now let's try to set font size of our elements. Let's say to 30 pixels. And we can see it works. Now, as we know, our A element has a property display, which is by default set to inline. So even if we place it right here, nothing actually happens because it's there by default. We can change it to block, for example. But then, as we know, the elements place themselves one below each other and their width is set by default to 100%. And we don't want that. We want those elements to place themselves next to each other like this, but we want them to be equally separated on the whole width of the website, where we have 4 elements and we want each of them to get 25% of the width of the whole website. So we can use inline block value for our display inline block property. Let's save our file and voila. But you may ask, there's something wrong with it. Since every element on our website has 25% of its width and we have 4 elements, those 4 elements should fit into one line because it will be 100%. And you would be right, but this is one of the downsides of the inline block property. Let me show you by setting background color to our elements for cadet blue, for example. Of course, I didn't mean border color, but our background color, like this. And we can see those little spaces right here, which are one of the issues of the inline block value. And let me assure you that these little spaces are not the margins of our elements or nothing like that. They're just there and they take space. So our 4 elements can fit it into one line because of this. Now I will tell you how to deal with it, and I will tell you about the other downsides of the inline block value, but we will focus on that in the other part of the course. For now, we can just use a simple trick, decreasing the width of our elements to, for example, 24%, like this. And now we can see that our 4 elements fit to one line, so they place themselves next to each other, and we can set its width however we want because of the inline block value of the display property. This is one of the reasons to use display inline block property. The elements set next to each other as the inline elements, but we can modify their size and appearance as with the block elements. As you can see, this could be a menu or navigation on our website, or a tab bar when we have different sections of our website, or whatever we can place in it. Now let's try to add a padding to them. For example, 10 pixels, like this. And you can see it's messed up again. And you should probably know why. Because now our padding, as we can see right here, which separates the text from the edges of the element, now expanded our elements, so they are not 24% width anymore. Now it's 24% plus 10 pixels of the padding. But as we know, we can get rid of this by using the box sizing property with the value of border box, because by default we have, of course, the content box value. So let's change it to border box. Let's save our file. And we can see we have our 4 elements back again, perfectly fitted into one line with our 10 pixels padding added to our elements. We will come back to styling the menu on our website in the next section of this course. And now let's take care of the styling of the button.